On Thursday the 7th of June 2007, most people in Newcastle and the Hunter were looking forward to a relaxing long weekend, planning a few days off. As you now know, it was anything but a relaxing long weekend. I'm Carol Duncan from 1233 ABC Newcastle, and like most people in the Newcastle and Hunter region, I will never forget the weekend when storms and floods closed down the heart of Newcastle. The Pasha Bulker went aground on Nobbys Beach, and the levee system around Maitland was pushed to its limit. Over the 4 days of the storms and flooding, I, like my colleagues here at 1233, kept you company around the clock. We talked with you, on air and off air. We kept you up to date with vital information, and we shared your experiences. On Thursday night, the Bureau of Meteorology warned of potential extreme weather conditions with a low-pressure cell developing just north of Newcastle. Over the next 12 hours, this low generated gale-force southeasterlies that buffeted the city until midday on Friday, redeveloping in the middle of the afternoon as a line of thunderstorms that ceaselessly battered Newcastle throughout the evening, causing life-threatening flash flooding in low-lying areas. This is the story of the June long weekend storm. The voices are yours, and the images are the ones that you shared with us.
There's no point people trying to drive to Newcastle East to see anything. It's completely counterproductive, and people are driving around without their lights on in the heavy rain and hail. It's very hazardous. If anyone's listening in the car and you have to be in the car, turn
Stay
your
out of
lights
the
on
city.
and go home as soon as you can. Is my advice.
About 9,000 homes and businesses are without power across the Lower Hunter due to the wild weather bringing down trees and power lines. The SES has received more than 80 calls for help this morning. The wet weather and debris is causing havoc on the roads, and police are urging motorists to drive to the conditions.
Yeah, and there's power lines whipping around on the ground. There's police and fire stations there, but you can't get through at all.
The buses are pulling up as we speak and taking students, those that are on the Muswellbrook bus, Aberdeen, Rookel, Gundy, Bunnan, Broadboy buses. They'll be heading off home early today because of the low-level flooding and some of the concerns.
We have power lines down on floor.
Apparently the A-block roof has collapsed, the buses have been sent and all the kids have been sent home.
No injuries that you know of?
No, apparently everybody's fine. It's a bit chaotic down there.
Okay.
My husband just had to piggyback me out of the golf club because all the water was coming in.
From the New South Wales Department of Education and Training, they are advising parents that as a precaution and due to the adverse weather conditions, Central Coast, Lake Macquarie, Newcastle, Lower and Upper Hunter students should be collected from schools and TAFE colleges if at all possible. That is, all schools.
There's a severe weather warning in place for flash flooding and dangerous surf and hazardous winds, a gale warning for coastal waters and a sheep grazier's warning.
There are currently 11,000 homes estimated to be without electricity in our area.
The New South Wales Premier Maurice Yemma has declared a natural disaster for the state's Hunter and Central Coast regions as the search continues for as many as 11 people missing in the storms.
The declaration comes after 24 hours of severe storms which brought gale-force winds and flooding hit hardest on the Central Coast and in the Hunter region.
Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock the State Emergency Committee is meeting, and we'll be obtaining reports overnight and into the morning of how the situation is.
The Bureau of Meteorology forecast that we get some average wind strengths of around about 65 kilometres this evening, but with wind gusts up to around about 90 kilometres an hour. So we do expect that there will be some tree damage out there as well, with some fallen trees, as well as the flash flooding.
Lots of stories about boats getting washed off, coming off their moorings. It's just amazing. The lake is almost level to the jetties, and it's like a beach, not like a lake at all.
Underwater is urging Toronto residents to conserve water, with fears the area could shortly run out of supplies.
We've been watching the reservoir levels during the day. Unfortunately, the power isn't back on.
Please heed those warnings. Do not head outside your house if you are in a warm and safe place. You are a long way in front of a lot of other people who have been evacuated here this evening, who have had houses inundated, who have had to abandon cars in the middle of busy roads here in the Hunter.
And as residents moved around, there was the risk of being caught in floodwaters. Underground car parks became swimming pools, and stormwater drains swirling torrents.
Are you right in the township of Dungog?
Yes, right in the township. School has been closed,
yes,
and there are no buses going in or out.
A lot of flooding on the roads between Bulladila and Raymond Terrace. Do slow down in the area. A fallen tree on the Hexham Bridge affecting traffic northbound. The New England Highway from Singleton into Branxton is flooded. Water is so deep, police have just blocked the road. Don't risk it.
And there's flooding across Aberglasson Road as well, so there's actually a person in a car and they're just trying to get them out now. Just backed the rescue truck down and it looks like they're putting them on that.
Emergency crews are responding to reports that an elderly couple is missing after a car was washed off a bridge at Clarencetown in the Hunter Valley.
The hold up on the Minmay Road at Maryland, 2 young children have been washed away and the road is completely blocked off. Quite a few police are out there now.
My son flew back from Melbourne today, and it was a beautiful day in Melbourne, he said, and he couldn't grasp the gravity of what was happening up here, and he was just appalled when they started their descent from Sydney.
Well, at the moment we're up on the top of the range north of Murrurundi on the New England Highway, and we're stopped because the snow's that thick we cannot go any further. We've lost traction. We've just come to a standstill.
Andrew, you're putting your hand on your heart, you're looking me in the eye down the radio lines and you're telling me that it is snowing in the Upper Hunter region.
The snow would have to be at least 2 inches deep at the moment. I've never seen anything like it.
The weather continued to whip across the region, with not only damaging winds, but rain, hail, and at the top of the valley, snow. There were continual reports of buildings, trees, electricity lines and roads that were severely damaged, evacuations and rising water levels in most areas. One image that is permanent is of a huge bulk carrier on Nobbys Beach. Just after 9 on Friday morning, listeners rang 1233's Garth Russell describing a ship struggling in the dangerous conditions only metres off one of the city's iconic beaches.
What are the ships doing?
We've been watching one for about half an hour. It's been struggling ever since, been at all angles, and it's obviously labouring.
See blokes on the deck, mate. I can see a gentleman standing outside on the deck. So somebody better get down there and have a look. Nose is starting to point towards the shoreline again.
Okay, so you're sensing they might be in a bit of trouble?
I think they might be. I really do.
Move on and talk to Dave Edwards. He's the president of the Nobbys Surf Club. Dave, what can you see?
Yes, Garth, she's running aground at the back of Nobbys Reef, coming right on the beach. She's only about 150 to 200 metres away from the shore now. It looks like a coal carrier or a grain carrier. She's getting washed ashore right now on the back of Nobbys Reef. The beach inspectors now have started to run to get their gear. Waves are now breaking over the ship, sideways over the ship, and it's now about 75 metres away from the shore.
So it's moved that quickly in that time?
Yes, it's
like a cyclone up here,
Oh,
Garth.
gee, okay.
She's trying to pull the nose into the wind, but it ain't going to work, mate. She's already beached.
Absolutely on the rocks and stuck.
Yeah, she's beached, mate.
Hi, Andrew, you're on the spot.
Mate, the ship's called the Pasha Bulker, and it's getting absolutely belted at the moment. It's an amazing sight. The spray coming right over the top of this huge tanker. It's just incredible, and the crowd's starting to build. I've got to be honest with you, the news is getting out. It's an amazing sight. It's as dangerous as it is, it's almost spectacular.
Making news this morning, 3 rescue helicopters are on standby to evacuate people off a freight ship in trouble in heavy seas off the coast of Newcastle this morning.
Our initial concerns are for the crew are on board. There are 18 Filipino seafarers and 2 Koreans.
So 20 on board. This is going to be a hairy exercise.
Oh, it's very, very precarious, and these seafarers know the dangers of it. They spent years on these ships, but they've threatened to jump over the side because they're that concerned about what's going to happen. Rather than being broken up onto rocks and washed out in that ocean, they've threatened to jump, and so it's really made the urgency for the evacuation of the ship.
2 rescue helicopters just touched down. The wind is very, very strong. They've done an amazing effort in managing to land here in such blustery conditions.
The first of the rescue choppers is about to take off to go out to the ship and try and lift up some of the 22 Filipino crew. The second of the choppers, as I speak, is just powering up as well. There are 2 television choppers, including our very own ABC Squirrel, now hovering over the Pasha Bulker. These very, very brave men on board these rescue choppers, as we understand, 2 will be lowered down onto the deck of the Pasha Bulker. They will assist in helping the crewmen to come up into the choppers, and they will relay between the 2 rescue choppers between the car park and the ship. I can't stress to you how strong the wind is down here on the beach. There is an air of anticipation here as the crews limbered up. They actually did their stretching exercises before they got into the chopper, Carol.
Of course they did.
They're in their frog suits. They've actually got snorkels as well. Trouble also with the Pasha Bulker is that it is being bombarded with massive seas. I don't know whether you can hear the chopper as it takes off now and heads towards. They're going to have to make sure that they time it so that the seas are not impeding them as well as they break across the deck. Lights are on. There are 2 television choppers in the way. We've just been told that we need to relay, if we can, to our chopper that it needs to move from the area. The Westpac chopper is moving across the decking of the Pasha Bulker, and again it hovers. This is amazing as another massive wave crashes over the deck. It can only be 20 metres directly above the deck as we speak. The skill of the pilots of these choppers is they'd have to be now within 15 feet as the door to the side of the chopper opens. The chopper is being buffeted, but amazingly, it's staying on course. But I have to say the rain has stopped as the first of the rescuers is being slowly lowered out the side, and he is dangling out of the rescue chopper towards the decking now. He has one arm out.
One by one, the 21 Filipino crew are being winched off the bulk carrier by rescue helicopter. The operation is extremely hazardous as the helicopter hovers over the vessel. It's being buffeted by cyclonic winds, heavy rain, and huge waves continue to break over the deck.
It's only about 20 metres from the shoreline. One of the council beach inspectors, Bernie is his name, he's doing this amazing job on the jet ski, just keeping here as he takes the ship. He's there, I should imagine, in the capacity if anyone falls off or anything happens, he's there to rescue them by sea.
As you speak to me, I've just had 2 of the crew members walk past me. Everybody is well and fine. I got a quick word with one of the crew earlier, and they said it's okay, just scary was the one that he said.
That's the understatement of the morning. Are you aware of how many crew members have been retrieved from the vessel?
All of them.
They are all off the vessel.
As far as I know, all are safe and sound, and the crew of the Westpac helicopter. This is the biggest job that they've ever done. And he said all the training that they've done for many years, has paid off.
After the crew's dramatic rescue in treacherous conditions, the Pasha Bulker became the city's newest attraction. Salvage investigators confirmed that the outer shell of the ship's double hull had been breached and was taking on water. Creases in the hull were also visible on both sides. Despite the risks, it was decided to press ahead with the salvage. While the first 2 attempts moved the ship for the first time, they were hampered when cables snapped. On the 3rd attempt, after 26 days grounded on the reef, the 76,000-tonne Pasha Bulker was finally freed. On the high tide at about 9:30 p.m, on the 2nd of July 2007, a sea anchor and 3 tugs, including the super tug Pacific Responder, rotated the ship towards deep water, towing her off and out to sea.
Tremendous feeling to see it just slide off that reef. It's done so quietly. It's just ecstatic to see it's moving, so the guardians of the beach get their beach back.
It's just an amazing sight after all these weeks to look down on Nobbys Beach and it's gone, and to see it moving out to sea in one piece, it's just the most amazing sight to behold. And there are plenty of smiling faces here.
Offshore, the ship was assessed for damage. Along with propeller and rudder damage from the salvage, the ship also suffered from a buckled hull and a flooded ballast tank. Minor repairs were conducted in Newcastle Harbour before being towed to Asia for further repairs. In April 2008, the Pasha Bulker was renamed MV Drake.
Drains aren't coping very well around Dent Street in Merriweather. It is actually over the gutter.
No, I've just driven through the junction at Broadhead. The road is completely flooded. People are not going to be able to get through in a few minutes. I'm in a four-wheel drive and...
I'm on Hunter and Union Street now, and it's just gridlock.
Everywhere you go in Garden City, there's waves of water come through the car parks, and people see the amazement on people's faces.
Stay right clear of Garden City. Stay clear of Bridges Road. There are not roads, there are rivers. It's unbelievable what's going down out there.
Got my car parked along across King Street here, right at the start of the floodwaters near McDonald's. Yeah, here comes another car. Just about to stop them now. Yep, wouldn't go through there.
Just seen a car disappear underwater. Truck has just fallen in as well. I got waves hitting me now, actually. I think they got them out before the car just disappeared altogether.
My house, I'm just about to go underwater. It's right at my front door, right at my back door.
There was disastrous damage caused by the flooding, but more was to come. At 2 o'clock on Saturday morning, the second low hit the city.
The conditions seem to have changed here in the last 15 minutes. It's absolutely terrifying. The rain is not even horizontal anymore, it's actually going up.
It is just a disaster zone out there. There are cars abandoned everywhere, particularly in and around New Lambton and Westfield. All the roadworks there are moved all over the place, so anybody just stay at home. It's just not worth it.
ended up finding a fellow stranded on the roof of the car. We had to throw a rope out to him, and between 6 of us we dragged him into the bus.
I've just had one of those major power poles with the 6 wires that are running through it just embedded itself into my car. The wires are across the street, across the neighbours' houses.
Energy Australia says the storms have left 75,000 of its customers without power from the Hunter to Sydney. Crews are working throughout the night to restore supplies, and fresh teams are ready to take over tomorrow.
We just were travelling, trying to get out of streets in Hamilton, and we would have people go, don't go that way, it's shoulder high. Don't go that way. We would see a tow truck underwater. And as I said, we feel very blessed that we were able to get out, but we left our house underwater.
On Saturday morning, the sky was clear. But the streets were littered with debris. And as we looked back at the last 24 hours, you heard of amazing heroism, offers of help and support, and stories of great tragedy.
I slept in my car last night. I just couldn't get home at all. And I've just come past the foreshore at Warners Bay, and it's just complete devastation.
Emergency services in New South Wales will begin a massive clean-up operation today in the Hunter Valley and Newcastle.
Standing here in Walsall Nelson Street at the moment, I'm surrounded by abandoned vehicles, cars in the canals, shops with windows out. The shop owners are trying to make their buildings secure at the moment because, of course, looting's a real concern for us.
Wallsend businesses that have been affected by flooding have had to employ security guards to deter looters. More than 30 shops were inundated and have stopped trading for the next few days.
Paramedics actually have lost 5 vehicles overnight in our attempts to try and get people to hospital. And
you lost 5 vehicles?
The vehicle stalled. The officers had to literally piggyback the man from the vehicle through the water to higher ground. Now, unfortunately, that vehicle that had to stay there overnight has been looted. Everything's been stolen from the vehicle, including the radios have been cut from that vehicle.
Without my neighbours' support in this street, we will just have nothing. We're treading on surfboards to get into bed, and we've got big branches blocking our drive. We can't get out of the street. We're sitting in the house with candles, and we didn't want to sleep. We were so frightened.
Energy Australia says it's working hard to restore power to homes in Sydney, the Central Coast and the Hunter Valley.
I don't know that the organisation's ever faced a challenge of this magnitude, mate. At the outset, Craig, yes, it's going to be quite some time. I do apologise to customers, but this is way beyond our control.
Blackbutt Reserve has been closed indefinitely by Newcastle Council after the park suffered serious damage in last night's storm.
Shortly after 5 p.m. last night, we had reports of a male person being swept into a stormwater drain from a vehicle that he was a passenger in. Since that time, police have been conducting searches.
The body of a 45-year-old man was found at Hamilton North near Newcastle after he was swept down a stormwater drain on Friday night. Police and emergency services have been commended for their bravery in searching for victims of the storms. 9 people have died because of the extreme conditions, including a family of 5 killed when their car was swept away by a road collapse near Somersby on the Central Coast.
All personnel went above and beyond the call of duty. As you're well aware, the elements conspired against us from the very start. Despite this, they battled on in a desperate effort to find survivors. And sadly, this wasn't to be the case.
NRMA Insurance says it's already received more than 1,000 claims from Newcastle residents affected by the storms.
Generally, most flood cover in Australia does cover people for storm-related flooding. The most important thing for people to do as policyholders is to contact your insurer straight away and talk to them about the claims process and the assessment process, and just make sure the insurer knows that you're intending to put a claim in.
And the Prime Minister, John Howard, says he expects to visit the Hunter region and Central Coast in coming days to survey the damage from the storms and floods. Mr Howard has announced additional emergency funding of $1,000 per adult and $400 per child for people who've been injured or whose homes have been severely damaged.
Prime Minister, I don't know if you've seen photos of this ship that is stuck on Nobbys Beach.
It's an extraordinary sight.
There's several hundred down here at the moment in freezing conditions. The city is packed with people parking wherever they can and walking in. They're bringing their children to see this amazing sight. People are pretty bleary-eyed. Not many people have had a good night's sleep, but a lot have made the effort to come out and see this because they feel like it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
I know I speak for every Australian in saying that the country is thinking of you and the human and tragic side of something such as this.
My 12-year-old son was washed off a road at Maryland.
But I'm joined this morning by Kira Bishop, who is Alex's mum. How's your boy?
Well, very well, surprisingly.
Kira, I'm actually joined on the other line by Mark Tucker, who works for Telstra. And when was your attention drawn to the fact that this young fella was in trouble?
Young girl was screaming, the boys in the creek went down to try and help. About 4 blokes with the rope up to their waists in water and trying to get it out to the boy, and council guy was on the tree with him, holding his head up out the water. The policeman, he's tried to get him and washed into another tree, and he's trying to calm him down. I've got all my wet weather gear, my gumboots and that on, and got back out, took it off, and I'm screaming because I'm panicking and I'm screaming to get some hose because the water's actually going around his chin, around his mouth. And he was hysterical. So I got the hose and I'm thinking, put it in his mouth so he can breathe, but we can't get the hose to him. There was no one on the other side to sort of throw anything. So the council guy's just saying, hurry up, do something. And he said, I can't hang on anymore. So we're still trying to get the rope around him and hoping that the emergency service is going to turn up. And he just said, look, I'm going to let go. I just can't do it. So I just reached out to the branch and put myself on the tree. Just managed to get the rope around him underneath his arms and did about 3 knots around the rope. Told the guys to pull and his arm's still caught in the tree. So we've got his arm out and basically just dragged him up right up onto the high ground, and the ladies have pounced on him with all the blankets.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Mark, I bet that's not how you thought your day would end up when you went to work?
No, it wasn't.
Kira, what would you like to say to Mark?
Oh, thank you so much, Mark. I'm just emotional over this. I haven't heard that full story like that. So I'm very grateful.
That's all right.
Kira, that's such a close call, isn't it?
It's just a big thank you to Maryland people and to everybody who participated in that help. We just can't thank them enough.
As water saturated the catchment area, residents in Lorne and low-lying areas of Maitland were evacuated, and SES and emergency services anxiously kept watch on rising flood levels. This was a major test of the Maitland levee system.
The Bureau of Meteorology has predicted a flood level of 11.3 metres at the Belmore Bridge at approximately 12 noon tomorrow. This means that the following areas may be inundated: South Maitland, outside the levee ring, Louth Park, low-lying areas of East Maitland and Pitnacree. It is recommended that you evacuate within the next 3 hours. If you leave it later, roads may be congested or closed. Now, Garth, we've got crews going out to these areas now, door knocking to tell these people to leave now.
On the banks of the Hunter River at Morpeth, it has broken its banks. It actually looks like a great big iced coffee milkshake. Very
State Emergency Service has started to evacuate people in low-lying areas of Maitland who are expected to experience major flooding in the next few hours.
There is no way anyone evacuated can get to Singleton Heights from Singleton Township itself. We're cut on the New England Highway over the other side of the river. We're cut on the Bridgeman Road and we're cut on the Darlington Road. You can't get through any of them into Singleton.
So, Jan, by the sounds of it, you're stuck pretty much at this stage.
Yes.
The SES says major flooding at Maitland and Singleton in the next 24 hours will reach levels similar to the 1971 flood in the Hunter Valley.
We've had about 7 rescue events today. There were 3 people sitting on the top of one car that the boys went over in the flood boat and took them off. And we had a couple of young boys decided they'd go for a bit of a swim, so we had to go and help them come out of that. It's been an eventful day one way and another.
As you drive and look to the left through Brankston, it's just a sea of water. There's a couple of paddocks there by Anvil Creek and people have moved their horses and up onto the side of the road.
The situation at the moment is that the area around the Brankston Inn is being inundated with water and the water is starting to cross the New England Highway.
What is the latest in Maitland and the Belmore Bridge?
By midday today, we will be exceeding the major flood level of 10.7 metres. We will be on our way to 11.3 metres by midnight tonight.
Now, that is officially a major flood. What sort of expectation do you have if you reach that level?
At the moment, we'll be looking at major evacuations.
I'm at the SBS headquarters in Rutherford, the main centre for the Maitland area. As you can imagine, things are quite hectic here. There's probably about 100 volunteers. They've come from all over the state, Dubbo, Queanbeyan and Cooma. They're deploying 3 flood boats to East Maitland area. They are predicting that the Rutherford and Western Maitland area will become cut off from East Maitland as the day progresses.
I'm down at the Maitland Railway Station where we've got probably 50 or so SES volunteers assisting New South Wales Fire Brigade and the rail authorities putting up a sandbag dike in front of the railway station to keep the water out.
There are fire engines, emergency services stationed at both sides. 20 metres from where I am, there are a few kids mucking around in the shallow parts of it, and it is moving into the backyards of houses right near where I am standing.
The volunteers are out there getting to who they can, but certainly if you're in a low-lying area, watch the river, be prepared to move if it's rising. Don't wait to be told. If you think you're in any sort of danger, please move.
They're really urging people to get out. The key issue is to get them out before dark.
The evacuation's gone very well. The police advised us that there may have been up to 4,000 people affected by that, and volunteers have been out there and door knocked, and the community have responded very well.
We had the SBS come to our house, and then an hour later we had the police come, and they said that they would actually force us to move. And my neighbours, elderly neighbours, were saying that they wouldn't. Quite a few elderly people in the Lawn community, and I think it is a big issue that people don't really understand what that's like. They've been through the flood in the 50s and the 70s. You know, they survived that, so that they think that they'll be okay.
The Bureau of Meteorology says the central Maitland district in the New South Wales Hunter Valley will not flood. The Hunter River in Maitland is peaking at lower levels than previously expected.
The spillways are doing their job. We will do a lot of our own reconnaissance at first light. We will start to look at the water. We do have some aerial assets which will come in very handy today as we do that. We will then start to look at whether we can give the all clear so that people can go back to their houses.
You know, you start to play the roles out, the scenarios out. What would we do if we got caught? Where would we put the children? What if you got caught with a baby in the water, you know? And all those things, it does start to play on your mind. And that's why I'm still up at 2:15.
"12 months later, there were still people yet to return to their homes. Others who are fearful of severe weather warnings, and still others who have yet to come to terms with their loss. Thank you for telling us your stories and sending us your pictures. As time fades, the 2007 June long weekend storms and floods will become a part of our local history and will be remembered along with the Maitland floods of the 1950s and the storms that drove the Cygna aground in 1974.